You are now tuned into the sounds of Big Nate Sports Talk. It's on all the time, anytime.
Sitting looking back on all the times we shared, when I acted like I just didn't really care, and it wasn't fair. You stood by me, girl, when I was so untrue. But this is my promise, girl, I give to only you. Let me be the one you come running to. When you need me, I'll be there, just to let you know that I do care. Baby, I promise, girl, I promise, I'll always be true. And baby, I promise, girl, I promise you that I'll be right here for you, no matter the problem, babe. I'll stand by your side. Your side, yeah, can never be denied.
You are now tuned in to Big Nate Sports Talk, the show that is on all the time, anytime. And now, ladies and gentlemen, your host, Nathan Snell.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Mr. Anthony Handy, for that wonderful introduction. As always, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is your host, Nathan Snell of Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast. This is episode 449. In this episode, we are recapping the NFL Draft first round grades. I have a guest with me on this episode, but before we get into that, there's a few things I want to say up front. Earlier today, I interviewed Sarah Tibiasu, Maryland Terrapin, soon-to-be graduate of Maryland University, Maryland College Park. Chopped it up a little bit. It was a great interview. I want to thank Sarah Tibiasu for her time, and also shot Rose DePaula for setting that up. And that episodes, and along with this episode, will be out tomorrow. Look around late afternoon-ish, around 2, 3-ish. But definitely tune in for that. Again, please like, comment, and subscribe for our future content. I appreciate the new subscribers. It is much really appreciated of the new support I've been getting so far on the channel. The Baltimore Ravens and Washington Commanders draft grades. We're going to do those in a separate video, respectfully. So stay tuned in for those. Check those out. And yeah, and then there's also the WNBA content. WNBA season is almost approaching, so get a preview out. I'll have some articles on TeamNBSMedia.com. Check that out as well. So I also just put a recent article out on that as well. Check it out. I think people will be really intrigued by it. So, but that's enough talk. But ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I got to bring the myth, the man, the myth, the legend, excuse me, and one half of that dynamic duo of Let's Talk Football. And again, I also have considered a founder of Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Sean Spencer. Sean, what's going on, buddy?
Let's go. What up, Big Nate? What up, baby? You see, I got the jacket. I'm feeling good today. What's good?
You should feel good. I mean, we both should be feeling good. It was a great draft. It went by kind of fast. I will say that we got to figure out a better time, because starting at 8:00 that's nasty
rough.
work.
That's rough.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But before we get into it, just what's going on in your world on your side of Let's Talk Football?
Right now, a lot of the main shows are done for the season. Let's Talk Football, Ladies Takeover, Let's Talk Football, and the Roundtable. Those, most of those are done. Washington Football Weekly is case sensitive. Certain times we're mostly for on Wednesdays. We still haven't done our recap video on Washington, but we'll do it in the coming weeks. But Will, with his 2 kids, he's got that, and between me and work and everything, but we'll get that done. The college stuff, the college shows are still going on, and they'll be going on, I believe, this weekend. And then shout out to Tina Winter, and her and I do Let's Talk Football Breaking News, which will also be, I believe, Friday or Saturday this week.
Okay.
I think Friday. So
okay.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'll make sure to leave Sean Spencer. I'll make sure to leave his the YouTube in the description, his YouTube channel in the link in the description below. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, cannot talk. It definitely will be in the description. Definitely check it out. Great shows over there. From time to time, I jump on there, whether it's the Round Table, whether it's Watch the Football Weekly, whether it's any other show that Sean has created over the years. But there's a lot of great content over there. You'll definitely enjoy it, especially college football and especially the breaking news, especially if you want to know more about the off-season stuff. That's where you want to tune in, ladies and gentlemen. So,
absolutely.
Sean, let's talk about it. The NFL draft. I kind of want to also kind of kill this narrative that this draft class was disappointing. I felt like to an extent, people kind of downgraded this class in terms of talent. It maybe could have been from the quarterback class. And again, each class is different. I know you guys talked about it recently, you and Tina Winter, about what was the best draft class. And sometimes the draft class that doesn't seem the strongest may be the best.
Right.
And also too, when you look at the first round, would you agree that this was more on need, not best available player?
Yeah. When I look at those first, 3, 4, 5 picks, I would definitely say that. You get Cam Ward. Titans definitely needed a quarterback. Jacksonville needs a lot of help. So to have a two-way impact player like that with Travis Hunter at number 2, them trading up, perfect. Abdul Carter, I've already told people that I'm shaking in my boots because that D line in New York is going to be similar to Philly. Mark my words, this coming year, man. They're making the playoffs. And New England, perfect. You're protecting my guy, Drake May, with a guy like Will Campbell. Wish he would have came and reunited with Jaden, but I like that he's protecting my guy. And then even going to Mason Graham, helping out that defense of Cleveland. I really kind of felt like everybody went to what they specifically needed. And a lot of these, I think, really hit. I'm not one that subscribes to this not being greatest or not being one of the best drafts or this like that. I'm looking at 6, 7 names right now off the top of my head that I could be solid. Cam, Travis, Abdul, Will, Ashton Genty, Banks, Loveland potentially, Booker, Tyler Warren, Omarion. Come on.
Derek Hammond.
Right. Yo, and shout out to him, man. Shout out to him. Got drafted and was able to get to the hospital to tell his mom that he got drafted. And
she passed. Thoughts and prayers to his family.
Absolutely.
Also thoughts and prayers to Sanaya Rivers. She was drafted this past draft a couple of Mondays ago by the Connecticut Sun. Her mom was there at the draft, and then just recently she passed away as well. So also sending thoughts and prayers to her and her family as well. But it's when I heard that I was like, man,
right.
It reminds me of the linebacker. Same situation. He got drafted. He's actually thinking maybe still in the league. He had a picture of his grandmother. And he talked about he drafted her and he said like 30 minutes later she had passed. So I can't remember that linebacker's name. He got drafted by the Falcons.
Okay.
Someone could tell me that in the description below, but I remember he got drafted by the Falcons. I can't just not remember his name.
I remember his interview where he was like, "This is why I do it. I do it for this. I do it for So I love that.
Yeah. So, but definitely with Derek Hammond, definitely thoughts and prayers to him and his family, for sure. So let's get into the first round. We're just doing the first round grades. I'll have, like I said, with the Washington Commanders, I'll have Sean Spencer on here as well. We'll break down those draft picks as Washington only had 5, and compared to Baltimore, we had 10. So, and that itself right there, that I don't know how they're doing him. Now that he's now the 17-time heavyweight champion. It's a little weird, but
that intro is weird. And then he just puts the towel up, and then I'm like, all right, man, y'all could have done better than that. But that's not neither here nor there.
Yes. So obviously, number 1 overall pick, Tennessee selected Cam Ward.
Like, yep.
You know, and I think Cam Ward. Obviously, we knew he was going to be number 1 overall pick. It was no brainer. My concern overall is what he's going into. I think he can be a franchise player, but this team is kind of essentially saying, we are putting it all, we're riding your shoulders. So I need to see what's going to be around him. I think Brian Callahan, I think they're taking I think it's a high risk, but I think he has the arm talent. From what I saw with the combine, he can extend plays, and he's definitely a starter. He reads zone reads coverages, all those things. So it's just, I still think there's going to be some inconsistency with mechanics and stuff like that, which I think he is going to improve on. But my overall concern is what's going to be around him these next couple years. But I give the pick an A.
Yeah, I give it an A plus. I do. I'm right there with you. And you know, you made a great point about what they had and coming into the season. What is he walking into? But I think the Titans also, they looked at that too, and they addressed it. I mean, getting Olufemi Oladejo from UCLA. I know Washington looked at him at edge. They needed that. You get yourself a tight end, a couple wide receivers. Alec Maynor out of Stanford. He caught 14 balls on Travis Hunter and a game-winning touchdown on the guy.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, definitely underrated for sure. Got guard that the Mullins, the running back I told you about. This is where he went, and they got him in the 6th round. So I think Tennessee really started filling a couple of their holes, and I thought they did. I liked what they did. I'm a little bit more confident after seeing their draft that he might be able, if they can work together, they might be able to do something in a division, in a conference, or in a division that I think they could be. Let's see what Tennessee does, or what Houston does. Let's see what Jacksonville's going to be. Tennessee could shocks people.
I would also like to mention that when I look at their receiving core, they did sign Tyler Lockett, so by default, he should be the number 1 receiver. Calvin Ridley will more likely move that 2 spot.
Yeah,
and they still have Tony Pollard. And then obviously Will Levis. Now, my understanding with Will, really quick, is he is considering changing positions, which I wouldn't advise that. But no.
See, look, talking about people that fell out of the 1st round.
Yes, most definitely. And I actually made the right choice when I remember doing a fantasy draft and not taking him. So
yeah.
But let's go on to number 2, and this is where the Cleveland Browns threw a curveball, and they traded down 3 spots just for Jacksonville to move up to the 2nd overall pick.
What the hell are you doing? What the hell are you doing?
And with the 2nd overall pick, Jacksonville took Travis Hunter, Colorado, the Heisman, the reigning Heisman Trophy winner. My only question, first and foremost, the Mr. Gladstone, I think this is his name, James Gladstone. He's the youngest GM right now. He took a gamble because he gave up 2nd and 4th. He gave up the 2nd and 4th rounders for this year, and then a 1st rounder for next year. I would have got a little bit more in return, but that's a big gamble. The only question I have is what is going to be his true position, corner or receiver? More than likely, I'm going to lean receiver.
Are you totally disregarding both ways? Are you totally saying it's not? I feel like them picking him, they're going to be the team that allows him to do this. Like, that allows him to at least try it.
Well, I mean, he's a generational talent. No doubt about that. I mean, 7 interceptions, and on the defensive side, but a two-way player in the NFL is rare.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, if even okay, let me break it down this way. As a wide receiver, he's a good route runner.
Mm-hmm.
But he largely at Colorado and even Jackson State, he was good because of his athleticism. But his ball skills, his playmaking, that's going to transition. Defensively, I think that's where he's more efficient, especially in man and zone coverages.
Yeah.
So it's just I can't see you putting him. I'm not saying he's going to do this all, one side play. Okay, like the first drive he's playing defense, next drive he's playing defense. You kind of have to pick your poison with that, because I think you're kind of. I just think you're going to wear him down into the ground, in my opinion. I'm not saying
I can see that
won't thrive as a two-way player, but in the NFL, where there's now more games and the game's now more physical, because Booger McFarland. What in the hell were you men talking about? The NFL game is more slower. It's more physical and faster. He said that I can't remember the day 1 or day 2, and he was like, the NFL game is like more slower. What? This is a Super Bowl. This is a champion who played on the defense that was physical. It had athleticism. Come on now. When he said that, I'm like, what? But no, I think he's better off at being a corner.
Yeah. Okay.
I need to figure out what they're going to do with him.
Oh yeah, he caught 90 plus balls. I mean, and look, he won the Blitnikoff Award, which is the best wide receiver in the country. I would have potentially given it to maybe a Nick Nash, maybe somebody else, but I get it. He was premier on that offense. We saw what he was able to do. He single-handedly pushed Shador's stock up. And who, even though it fell out of this first round, but honestly, I thought this was a perfect pick by them. I love it. I think they're the type of team that could let him play both ways and see whether I totally agree that if you are realistically thinking about letting him play both ways, then you are realistically shortening his career by probably 5 years. I just do not think he's going to be able to consist. I think he can do it. He might be a unicorn and do it for 2 years. He might prove us all wrong and do it for 5. But I just don't think, especially when you involve potential nagging injuries, or God forbid, we don't want that, but injuries or just anything off the field issue, whatever. You can't.
But also, too, like, I think this also. I'm sorry, please. I didn't mean to cut you off. My apologies.
No, yeah, I was in it.
But also, too, like, to add on that, you got Brian Thomas Jr. on the other side. So Trevor Lawrence, with a healthy Travis Etienne, now you got 2 young studs at the receiving core, and then we're not even talking Brandon Strange, who's now de facto number 1 tight end. You got something there offensively with Jackson.
Right.
So it's going to be interesting to see how, especially when training camp and all that comes, it's going to be interesting to see what they do with him for sure. And the New York G-Men, with the 3rd overall pick, took baby Lawrence Taylor, Abdul Carter. Just for the record, Abdul, he had asked. The reason I said baby Lawrence Taylor is because he asked the great Lawrence Taylor could he wear his jersey number, and no, he said, and that kind of, I saw this on First Take, and Dominique Foxworth kind of thrashed.
It's hilarious. It's hilarious. Like, what? You want what was that? What? Look, I respect his answer. He's gonna make yourself great. Be something great. You're not going, and if there was a number that you were, speaking of numbers that we potentially would retire, that would be a number I would have I have no problem retiring. 56, Lawrence Taylor, whatever. And who cares what you feel about him and his off the field or whatever? A lot of people were doing some of the things he were doing. So let's pump our brakes. There's no denying that he changed the entire game. So I respect to Abdul Carter for asking, and I respect Lawrence Taylor even more for being like, no, you're not Lawrence Taylor. You never will be. You might be the best Abdul Carter you can be, but you go make
your own identity.
Right.
Because you know what was interesting when because I was speaking on First Take, what's his name had brought up that Drew Pearson, the great Drew Pearson, Hall of Famer, brought up that he wore 88. And then Michael Irvin wore 88. And I'm like, wait a minute. You got two players that have worn it and nobody thought to retire at 88. No disrespect to CD, but it's like,
well, it wasn't going to happen after Jerry was there because ain't no player bigger than Jerry. So unless he okay with it,
fair. And I'm still waiting for them to actually retire 52 and 75 here in Baltimore with Ray Lewis and Jonathan Ogden, but that's another story. But
I think you see 52 before. If we're talking about retired numbers, I think you see 52 before
75.
Yeah.
Fair.
Because while I loved how great Ogden was, I don't think Ogden. People don't remember unless you're Baltimore. Baltimore people do, but you remember Ray. Ray, first thing you think Baltimore, you think Super Bowls, you think, one of the best linebackers of all time.
Yeah. But I mean, with us, Ogden was the first pick, and
True.
A lot of people forget that was the draft of Lawrence Phillips. So,
we talked about that.
Yeah. But but back to with Abdul, was my first pass rush off the board, and many more. I was seeing somebody in the Big Ten, Abdul alongside Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence, and Kayvon Thibodeau.
Yeah,
that's going to feed families. Because pass rushers, especially of his talent, they're valuable. And they're rare to find. The one thing that stood out to me is, especially looking back at something like against Maryland, for example, he's got a first step that you go like, damn.
Yeah.
But again, like it's the Big Ten, and some teams are hit and miss with it. But with Abdul, he's a balanced pass rush. New York runs a 3-4. He should thrive in that system, if we're being honest. But they're getting a real one. I mean, he's not overly the best when it comes to as a run defender. I think he's more of a pass rush, but I think he'll get better as a run defender. But I give it an A.
With those guys, especially with those guys around him. I mean, I think he's going to do very well with that. I mean, we've seen the blueprint in Philly, like I alluded to earlier, and now this is what they're doing. And if they can sit there and just rush with 4 guys, I mean, I hate to say it, but I think they're going to be good. On top of the fact that you pick up Darius Alexander from Toledo, you pick up a corner. You're trying to solidify that defense because. We know how bad they've been, but they've had a defense over the last couple of years. I mean, different pieces. Yep. Obviously, you mentioned Burns and Thibodeau and those guys and Lawrence. So getting a guy like this and then continually trying to bolster that defense. Yeah, Giants. I think are gonna if they can put it together, especially on offense. I think they'll be all right.
Yeah, for sure. And actually, the Giants actually do have another pick in the first round a little later. We'll talk about that in a second. But the 4th overall pick, the New England Patriots, they decided to invest in their offensive line, and they get the first, I think, they got Will Campbell, LSU. I think first and foremost, I saw some before, even after the draft. I think some people were very like, I would have went something else. I value offensive linemen, especially tackles, but I just value offensive line, period, because you've got to put something in front of your offensive line. Me and Sean have had, we first started talking, we had this argument with Burrow. where they drafted Chase instead of Panay Sewell.
Ah, yes. Okay, I remember that. Okay.
And it was like, okay, then obviously what happened? He got hurt.
Yeah.
But now, post the Super Bowl, they're like, well, we got to get you some help. When it got Orlando Brown Jr., but for me, it's like you got to build the trenches. You can't have a successful offense without guys in the trenches, and I think he could definitely protect your blind side. And I think he's the best fit. Now, the question for him at his size, some people say he is more of a guard.
Yeah, those arms aren't that long.
And it's like, okay, because I think it's what 32 and a half. That's what they said it was, and I was like, damn. Okay.
Yeah. Realistically, and you can see it when he walked out there. He looked big but slender inside. Slender. It was almost like T-Rex. It was almost like a T-Rex. Like I hate to even make that make that comparison or say that, but that is something that's been mentioned. That it's been his arms are a little smaller.
Yeah. So. They got a solid offensive alignment. It's just, do you say he's our left tackle, or do you go, we're going to give you like the Mike Flynn treatment? You're a center. You're like Mike Flynn was a center, but he played guard. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they do with Will Campbell. Will Campbell is a solid A for me.
Yep. Same here. Absolutely.
And then the head scratcher, Cleveland took Mason Graham. I gave it an A because I don't think they needed to trade out the number 2 spot just to get him if that's who you wanted. You have somebody on the other side of Myles Garrett. That's great. And I think he should definitely fit, because I thought that's what was their priority in Cleveland. But outside of that, that kind of makes me ponder with this trade. Did they really was he their number 1 guy? Did Cleveland panic? That's the only question I have, because to move that down like that, I mean, great player at Michigan, and I think he's athletic. I think he can. It's not the best when getting double teamed, but his athleticism alongside Myles Garrett, I think that again in the trenches is great. But I think Cleveland could arguably, you could say, reached for him. Would you agree?
No, I mean, okay. We know they signed. You sign. Well, first and foremost, they trade out of 2 to get back to 5. Okay, so we had all kind of thought Shador was going around 2. So then when they trade back to 5, where it's like, oh, okay, well, maybe they just wanted to get the pick, and they have the first overall next year for them. So that might have been a little bit of the incentive. But yeah, I thought, okay, this is where Shador was going. Okay?
Yeah, same.
Or I thought, well, here you have a situation. Your superstar running back just literally got his knee bent. Yeah, and now we don't know what he's going to be. You can get Ashton Genty. You guys like running over there. I mean, what are we talking? So the fact that they didn't do that, and then you get Mason Graham. Okay, Mason Graham, solidify that defense. Maybe you don't want, Finn Chubb. You still have a quarterback. Like, now, obviously, in hindsight, we know what eventually happened. They got 2 other guys. But in this round, you're just like, what? Like, see. Okay. All right. That's just Cleveland being Cleveland. You know?
Yeah, I agree. So, I mean, Mason, I think will be fine. I just think that what Cleveland did to do what they did was weird. Let's go on to 6. Let's talk. I'm gonna give you the floor on Genty. What was your thoughts on him? I gave him an A. How do you feel?
I love that. I love this pick. I love that he went to the Raiders. We know Pete Carroll being over there. We know he loves his running backs. He loves to run the ball. I mean, all the way back to when he was at USC, having Lendell White and Reggie Bush out there doing it. Then coming to Seattle, Marshawn Lynch. Even before he left, Zach Charbonnet,
Zach
Kenneth
Charbonnet, Kenneth
Walker.
Walker, yeah.
Yeah, like so he loves his running back. So why not? I mean, they are needed a running back. They have two top tier young tight ends. Run the ball, get Ashton Genty. I'm so excited to see him go in there. Now, did you see the interview Ashton Genty and Marshawn Lynch had? Where
Yes.
Marshawn, he was like, yeah. So he was a military kid, right? So was it like, oh, you had to wake up in the morning, 50 push-ups, brush your teeth, 50 push-ups, go eat breakfast, 50 push-ups, walk outside before you get off the stoop, 50 push-ups, like just going back and forth. I love that. I love that. As Jency
Yes.
going back and forth with a legend in Marshawn Lynch. Let's go. So A plus 100%, man.
Absolutely. And then the only thing with Ashton is again we haven't seen anything like this. I'm being
Mm-hmm.
honest. It's Saquon. We came out of Penn State,
Mm-hmm.
and the only thing I will argue with him is he's got to be better as a pass blocker. But again, you kind of mentioned this too with you and Alex Loosemore, college football update is Boise State's no more for kind of like a run first like offense because I mean he was technically their offense, but
Yeah.
and then there was the pass, but that's one area I think he just got to improve on. But other than that, this is the number one running back for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So
do you have a problem with his standing straight up stance?
no,
No.
I don't have an issue with it at all. I mean, because again, he's from a military background, and that's
Stand
discipline.
tall.
So yeah,
Mhm.
yep. And we're going back into New York. The Jets. They took Armand Membo.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Giving Justin Fields some help.
Thank
which
you.
the Bears
Justin is like, thank you.
But yeah, no, I thought that again, building the trenches when we talked about Will Campbell. Because that's a Missouri kid. Again, with John Simpson, I know Vera Tucker. That's a young offensive line because they got the other dude last year off Alu Fashani. I thought was a good pick. Yeah, that's a young offensive line that you definitely got to build around for sure. Because even with last year too, with Aaron Rodgers, that was still a young team. So, yeah. So I it's gonna be interesting to see what they'll do with him. Because I mean, more than likely he's gonna be playing the right side of the line. So, because he didn't allow a sack at all last year, which is pretty damn good. And I think he's more of a run first tackle. So, ring ahead on that. So Breece Hall will definitely love him.
Oh yeah. I love that pick for sure.
Yep. Let's go to 8. I'll give you the floor on this one. Tataroa McMillan.
Yes. I love this pick. I love this pick for him. I was a huge fan of this guy out of Arizona. I think the guy's got great skill, great balance, great hands. He can jump up and get it. He can take off. I think this guy is great. Him and Noah Fafita was his quarterback over the last 2 years. They really kind of solidified a great, great pair out there. And look, another one that I think potentially could have been put ahead of Travis Hunter in the best wide receiver race, but
for sure,
I'm saying that because these guys are not only true wide receivers, but the numbers were, if not equal, a little bit better than Travis. So it's kind of like, well, what are we rewarding? Is it popularity? But that I'm getting off my soapbox. I love this for Bryce Young because we saw at the end of last year, he started to seem like he was getting it. Things were starting to click. They actually they were in some games and they pulled out some victories. They were playing with Kansas City at one point.
Yep.
So I love this for them because you're adding another weapon for them. They got Adam Thielen out there, a couple of Xavier Legette. So I think this is going to be a good pickup for him. I love it.
Because if no disrespect to Leggett, but Leggett's more of a 2. And then T-Mac now is your number 1. So But I still think Leggett will be a good wide receiver for them. But most definitely, Bryce Young is getting some help because Lord have mercy.
He needs it. He needs it.
Let's go to the New Orleans Saints. And I actually like this pick out of Texas, Mr. Kevin Banks Jr. The highlight of when he was picked was his son throwing up when his name was called. So obviously, little man was asleep, and I guess it was in his mom's arms, and he must already had gotten food. That that nighttime formula for bed, and when she clapped, he just and people made that a meme. So.
Oh well, it happens. It happens. It is what it is. Yeah, but I like this pick.
Yeah, go ahead. Talk to us.
This pick was for me. Shedeur Sanders destination number 2. Like this is like because and I feel like I hate it, but a lot of the first round was overshadowed by obviously our everybody watching, Shedeur slide. If he didn't go to Cleveland, I thought, okay, well, Derek Carr with the shoulder might be out for the season. I'm not fully trusting Spencer Rattler or Jake Hayner. Why not? Let's bring Shedeur in. Let's figure out a way to keep Kamara, bring Shedeur in. Let's work around that. You have Olave at wide receiver. Let's go. I don't have a problem with this pick because clearly, if you're most likely gonna have to go with a young quarterback, so you need to protect them. But yeah, this is where I thought Shedeur was gonna go next, and the fact that he didn't go here, this is when I started to kind of sit back and say, okay, a lot of these other teams don't need a quarterback, and if Shedeur ain't trying to play backup, he might really drop.
Yeah. The only reason I gave it a B because I think Calvin will be. I think he'll be fine. This is to me a slight reach because I look back at some of the tape. He leaned and fell off blocks at times, and especially as a tackle, you can't do that. But those are things that you can get better at. He for his size, he's only 6. Well, I mean, you can have 6'5" tackles, but for him, it's a little like he's going to need time to develop into being a starter. He needs like to sit a year. I think
when they started him,
he was a tackle. Yeah, I mean, if things don't work,
top 10 pick, they're gonna potentially start. Because
I mean, he can play like guard, but even play maybe like right tackle. But I mean, he started a 42 games all last 3 years. But it's going to be interesting to see how he'll do because he only allowed 1 sack last year. So I mean, he can stay in front of pass rushers, all those things. So it's just there's different motor skills. I want him. I would like to see developed. So for sure. Let's go to the Windy City of Chicago. Nick Rosario and Delana Crespo will actually like this pick. Well, actually, Nick might not like this grade, but I think it's fair. Colston Loveland,
I like that.
Out of Michigan. Alex Luce might not like the grade neither, but that's okay. Because I still think when you look at Laporta and Brock Bowers, like Tyler Warren and Colston are now the 1B. So, and then now Brock and Sam are the 1A. So, I'm a little like because you have Cole Kmet there. So unless you're pulling out like the 2 tight end system as well, I'm going to be interested to see what that's going to be like.
And this is the thing when you have Ben Johnson over there, you're thinking high flying, you're thinking gadget, you're thinking this and that, and this just screams of I formation, 2 tight end, like you said, like him and Cole Kmet, and here's another thing. I mean, I'd love to hear your opinion. Do you think they kind of reached? Because if I'm looking at tight ends, I'm looking Harold Fannin Jr., I'm looking Tyler Warren.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't dislike Loveland, but I think Loveland is, if you want a blocker and you want old school football, that's fine if that's what
Yeah.
they're doing. But I was under the impression that you got Caleb, you got this offense, you got Ben Johnson. There's going to be gadgets. It's going to be flying all over the place. Maybe they're not. I don't know.
Colston Loveland would be like, if we're being realistic, that type his style as a player fits Baltimore. I'll even arguably say Washington.
Mm-hmm. He can come here. I can see him having great success here, to be honest with you, because he can block. He's gritty, and then he can also get out and pass and be reliable. So yeah, absolutely.
Because also too, one thing I will say that also is a negative on Colston is his breaking tackles. Like and especially I want somebody that can be a runner after the catch. But I mean he needs to work on his strength, which I think will get better. But I mean he gives you max effort. So I mean, could he be at the slot in the scrimmage? We'll see that for sure.
Yeah.
Yep. We're going to go to the West Coast. We're going to go to San Fran, those 49ers, and they took Mikael Williams, University of Georgia. I'm being nice. This is not a curve. This is fair. Only because when you look at he's not proven. He's got upside, but this is all potential. It's all potential.
I get the C+, and it's more because you can't fix what's wrong with San Francisco and all they lost with one pick. I like this pick, but I don't think it's enough. And we're talking about him being from Georgia, where we already know Georgia, they struggled in defense. I mean, Handy and Colin, they'll tell you they struggled. It was not they were struggling. They was not comfortable for them to watch it. So him and obviously Jalen Walker, two solid picks from Georgia, but that wasn't that many more people coming out, and like we've seen in years past. So I think this was a good pick for San Francisco, but again, they need so much more.
Yes, and on top of that too, one thing I noticed is that he got to work on as a defensive player. He like false starts. He falls too quickly for that, and I'm actually giving you the 4 on this next pick because everyone is like even Jade was like, "This is not who I wanted." Dallas took Tyler Booker.
Oh my goodness! I like the pick. I was thinking that he was potentially going to fall down to us, and this was one of those linemen that I was like, I would love to get him. With Cosme being out, we could potentially put him inside a guard. Like, I was all about this. So to see them get him, and then I think about Zach Martin's gone. I think of another lineman. We got Biotis from them a couple years ago.
Yep.
So they needed that. I think you have to protect your investment clearly in Dak Prescott. So yeah, get somebody like this. We know Tyron Smith is the guy they got from Oklahoma State like last year.
Yes, Tyron Smith.
Yeah, he's in there already. Pair him with Booker. I think they'll be good in that.
Yep. Talk to me at number 13 about Kenneth Grant.
I love this pick. This is who I wanted. I even potentially said if he were to drop down to 20, I would have traded up potentially to get him. Great size. I think 6'3", over 300.
331 pounds.
Oh yeah, about to say over 330. But I mean, big cat. I'm thinking Jordan Davis out of Georgia that went to Michigan, Philadelphia.
Yep.
Big size, very mobile, can run down these running backs, and great pursuit. I just love his step. I love his ability to disrupt that line. This is somebody I wanted.
For sure. I agree. He's definitely on that defense because the defense I thought was something Miami definitely to focus on for sure. And 14, how'd you feel about Tyler Warren?
Oh, this was one of the 3 picks that I got right. I got Cam Ward at 1. I got Ashton Genty at 6. and I got Tyler Warren here at 14. Like I told
Mhm.
you, I think this is like my Dallas Clark. This is the guy that is the Swiss Army
Yes,
knife. He can throw, he can run, he can catch. I love this pick for them. I think he is going to be an underrated steal. Like I think this guy. If he stays healthy and they can work him, he's going to turn Anthony Richardson into a lot better quarterback.
I agree. And just for the record, Anthony Richardson will be the starting quarterback this upcoming season for the Colts, not Daniel Jones.
Book it.
No disrespect, but no, when
Mhm.
Daniel Jones is not, no.
Yeah.
No. Let's talk about 15. They took Jalon Walker,
Mm-hmm.
Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
So, how do you feel about that pick?
Well, this is something that's first of all shocking because one of the things that Handy and all them would always say is that Georgia never, or Atlanta never goes and gets homegrown talent and gets guys from Georgia. Well, they got a guy now from Georgia. We talked
Yep.
about it. Ain't many names on that Georgia defense that are coming out in the draft, but Jalen Walker is definitely one of them. This guy he's quick, he's aggressive. The guy can change, like really start to alter the game by his play on defense. He did it a couple times, and in college. I think this is great for them. Atlanta has made it a point, and they're one of my winners in this draft. They've made it a point to go after that D line after letting Grady Jarrett go to the Bears.
Harris,
They've
yep.
really tried to build up that D line and build it back. We know what they've done in the secondary. Watch out for Atlanta.
Yeah, I agree. To me, one thing that stood out to me, he's a hybrid linebacker-ish edge. So it's interesting to see what he does. He can play off the ball or off the edge. So he has all that. I mean, Atlanta, I think, has a prototype player that they look for. I mean, he is undersized for the position,
Mhm.
but I think it's how you use your advantage to it. So
Yes.
they definitely got a steal for sure. I give Atlanta for sure an A on that one. And then Ole Miss, Walter, I think will be great. You're building in the trenches. A lot of upsides, but again, I talked about it with Mykal Williams. The same thing. It's just popping off. Coming off the snap too early. You're getting practically taken out of the play. Yeah, nah. I mean, he could get off the blockers and stuff, but no. As a pass rusher, it needs work. And
Wow.
Yeah. I think he'll be great. I think he'll be good. But I just think they're just, again, this is a project. You need time to work on him. So, how did you feel about Cincy taking Shamar Stewart out of Texas A&M?
I thought he fell. I had him going to Dallas picks before because I thought, just like the Giants, they wanted to solidify that D line. I like this. I like this for Cincinnati. We don't know right now about Trey Hendrickson and will he still be there and will he still play because they don't know if they're gonna have the money to pay him after taking care of Chase and Higgins. So you gotta protect yourself. And this is a guy that's gotten a lot of attention, especially since the end of the season. I think this could be big. I would go B. I would go B on this just because right now we really don't know about the Hendrickson situation. But if he holds out on his demands, then this is going to be perfect because you need somebody that's going to at least replace some of the production.
I agree. I definitely agree. And the same thing I look at with him is they're thin on defense. And I mean, I think Shamar is great. He's talented, but I mean, speed is the one that comes to my mind. Relying on speed, not power. That's one thing that kind of jumped off at the tape because I use YouTube and I even rely on shout out to Jeff Barnes, who is a scout, who knows football, works with the NFL scouting. he kind of breaks down tape and stuff like that. So I was like, let me look at this guy, and I was like, ugh, yeah. So, so we're going to go to got a couple more picks. And we're going to go to a little commercial break, but we're going to go to Seattle. This was my guy that I actually picked as well, North Dakota State. How do you feel about this pick?
I love it. I mean, I had him dropping down to you guys, and you guys, picking him up in there. So this is solid for me, in my opinion. Man, you got Sam Darnold out there now. You got a solid run game. Let's build up that line and kind of give them that chance to build things back up. I think this is a great selection for them.
For sure. I still think he could potentially. I think he's going to be a guard. I don't see. I saw some people say he could be a center, but I mean, because he definitely he could be more of a left guard. So it's going to be interesting to see, but he's definitely going to be day one starter. So yeah. Tampa. This was interesting. Okay, you're gonna help me with this. Emeka Abuka. Thank you.
Yeah.
I already kind of know it's going to be like a fantasy steal. This is basically Chris Godwin's replacement. Because obviously we know when we played the Baltimore Ravens, Chris Godwin, which still to this makes no sense, putting your team out there when the game's essentially over, got hurt. And then Mike Evans, I believe, is in the last year of his deal too. So you got to rebuild the core. How do you feel?
I love it. I mean, right now you have Mike Evans. You have, if you get Godwin back, you have him. Then you have Jalen McMillan, who proved that he can be great in that slot. Now you add Emeka Abuka. Oh my goodness gracious, yeah. They with the way their running game is going, you add another weapon like this, Tampa, they can look nice on offense.
Yeah. So I mean, especially in the slot. So feeding families. We're going to go to 20. In Denver, they took Jahid Barron, defensive back out of Texas. Now you have to see Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert. Damn. But you're playing alongside Patrick Surtain II. Love it. But how do you feel about this pick?
I love it. Like you said, playing with Patrick Surtain II. He's a solid corner out of Texas, and size, ability. And one of the things, shout out to Tina, who does her show Mile High Minute, huge Broncos fan. Yep. Apparently, Vance Joseph was like his cousin was the coach, like a DB's coach at Texas, and so they had there was a connection there. So they, as soon as they saw him on the board, they went that way. Because in my opinion, I thought Denver, Javonte Williams was gone. You need a running back. I'm thinking Omarion Hampton was still there.
Yep.
He didn't get picked up till 2 picks later. So, but apparently that other corner is definitely a big need for them. So I like it.
Let me ask you a question. Where does he fit? Is he a nickel corner, or is he going to be like, how does he fit in that style of defense with Van Joseph?
Well, I think, first and foremost, I know, Coach Steph's going to put him in the right spot. I think, honestly, you can put him outside, but to start, I wouldn't. I'd leave Riley Moss outside and you put him at nickel. Let him learn the system. But a lot of it, I think, we'll see, kind of in training camp. How does he work, in the rookie OTAs and mini camps and all that stuff? Is he out playing some of these guys?
True.
And then if he is, throw him in the mix. I mean, the guy's got talent.
Yeah, for sure. Ladies and gentlemen, we've gone through 1 through 20. We've got 21 through 32. We're almost there. We're going to take a little commercial break. We're going to get some water, and we'll be right back. So hang tight. right, we're back. We're going to push it through because it's getting a little late over here or where we are on the East Coast. We got a couple more picks and we got one final thought. And then we're going to end it off on a high note. A note where I think it's a good conversation to have for sure. 21, Pittsburgh took Derek Harmon. Excuse me. I don't like saying Hammer. Derek Harmon.
Yeah.
D to be the defense, J.J. Watt, and especially, oh my gosh, interior Hampton.
Hayward.
Cameron Hayward. Thank you. Hayward. Thank you. They're not getting any younger. So there's no shame in that. And Oregon, they're known for their defense. I like the pick. I think he will learn definitely well alongside them. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, no, it was 4. This was the 4th pick that I did get. I got Harmon because of exactly what you said. Cameron Hayward's not getting any younger. We know there have been injury issues. Bring in another guy. This seems like a definitely a Pittsburgh Steeler move. This was also where another slot. This is where I say Shedeur Sanders landing spot number 3. This is because we were all holding out after the Saints didn't pick him. After some of these teams didn't pick him, you're like, wait a minute. Okay, well, the Steelers need a quarterback. Clearly, they'll take him. And when they didn't take him and Tomlin passed on him, it was like, ooh. So I love this pick. Right. I love this pick. And obviously, we know about the story about him, leaving, talking to his mom and all that. And, rest in peace. But I love this pick. But this is when I knew Shedeur wasn't getting picked in day 1.
Yeah, I agree. We're going to Los Angeles. John Harbaugh loves his running backs, and Marion Hampton. I think I'm gonna give you the floor on this one because this is personal for you.
Give me a second. Hold on. I can't have this conversation. Without letting them know. There's an ice box where my heart used to be. Marion Hampton. Okay, getting picked up by the Chargers. I love this pick because this is Harbaugh, who is a runner, who wants to run. He built that O-line to run. You bring in a Marion who can definitely run. He can catch. He can block. The guy is a playmaker, man. I am so excited for him. Now, I am also bitter because, as you clearly know, I wanted him to fall 7 more picks to 29, and for Washington to get him, no guarantee we would have, but I wanted it. But yeah, I think this is going to be a great fit for him. And a lot of people were like, well, they have Najee Harris. What are they going to do? That's perfect. Let Najee get in there. Let him run. We've clearly seen what happened in Tampa. That 2-headed monster, it works. Washington's been doing it.
Yep.
I'm telling you.
Yep. But also, too, in fairness, people also forget, Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins were there last year. And that experiment did not work. And Gus Edwards got cut, and Dobbins, I believe, was still with them. So, so I mean, by default, he'd be number 2 behind Najee, and then JK's there as well. So, yeah, I definitely like the pick for them. Green Bay, they got Matthew Golden. This is where you actually had Dallas, I think, at one point in your mock draft. We talked about taking him.
I had Golden going to Dallas. Yep.
And actually, I know I wanted to tell you this, Sean. So I looked earlier before we started. This is the first time since 2002, where they took a receiver in the first round.
Oh yeah, Aaron's sitting here just sulking. Like, are you serious? Y'all, now you want to get a receiver? Now you want to draft a receiver first overall? So yeah.
How do you like Golden there in Green Bay?
I love it because he didn't go to Dallas, because I did not need another wide receiver going to Dallas. I think this helps Jordan Love immensely. You give him another wide receiver. Hopefully we got, keep him healthy. But then you have him, Romeo Doubs, Christian Watson. I mean, you get those 3 guys going. I mean, this could really be some nice for them. And they're going to need as many weapons as they can get in that dangerous NFC North, with the Bears starting to show up and obviously the Lions. And now we'll see what Minnesota does this year. But this is big for them.
I agree. Definitely. 24, Minnesota took Donovan Jackson. They definitely are building the offensive line because a lot of people are not sold on JJ McCarthy, which I disagree. I think he'll be fine. You just got to put some offensive line around it, but also too. I mean, if you were that confident with Sam Darnold, that's on the subject for another video. But I think he definitely IQ's one of the best. I think they have arguably one of the best chances to fill one of the best offensive line in the game. Derek Shaw and those guys. So, because again, Ohio State, Big Ten, because a lot of people forget he took over for Justin Simmons, who tore his ACL, if I remember correctly. So, no, it's patella tendon. I can't remember which one his injury, but he played a majority of those like 9 or 10 games there at tackle. So for him. So, how do you feel about the pick?
Oh, I love it. I mean, look, we all know they clearly made it stated last year in their investment. JJ McCarthy, he's their guy. He got hurt last year. Now they're bringing him back. They need to do it. And to your point about JJ McCarthy, first and foremost, he's a winner after coming off winning a national championship in Michigan a couple years back. And for those of you who are saying, "Oh, well, he didn't really do much. He didn't do X, Y, and Z," look at his games. Look how accurate he is. Look how poised he is in the pocket. The guy's a winner. And here's the other part. The X factor is who's his coach? O'Connell. We all just sat there last year, coming into last year, saying, "What? Darnold is in Minnesota? Oh, they're tanking. They're tanking." And they made the daggone playoffs and were dominant this year. You know, I think if you have O'Connell working with JJ McCarthy, I think that's a big pairing. I think that's going to be good for them. And getting this, getting alignment, that's part of the course. This is exactly what you would expect.
I agree, most definitely. And then the New York G-Men, the Houston Texans had this pick and traded it, and Jackson Dart.
I can't defend that. What do you want me to say to that?
Exactly.
You know what's interesting? There was on the mock draft, I can't remember who it was, but it was really pushing Jackson Dart to be a top 10 pick.
We had people talk about it, and I was like, really? Really? And I don't know if you saw the thing I shared today about the New York Giants podcast or whatever, where the guy was like, "Have you not watched Jackson Dart? He's like, he's just the same as Matt Corral. He's a system quarterback." Look, I'm hoping for success, but I don't see it. I don't see it.
Again, I have to agree with you. This is a reach. Again, I'm being nice. I wanted to give him a C+, but it just he has a good arm, but I mean, Ole Miss, that offense was schemed. They don't really have a scheme with the Giants, and it's like you're asking him. You're basically, this is a learning curve, and that's the panic button. No.
I mean, let's be honest. You pick up Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston. I think the panic button, they're standing on the panic button. Like,
yes.
And then to trade back into the first round to get Jackson Dart, who clearly, in my opinion, would have been there in the second round.
I agree.
You trade back in. Okay. Yeah.
That's
that panic button is pushed. Yeah.
I agree. For sure. 26, Atlanta took James Pierce Jr. And really quick before we get into it, I just want to get Rickea Jackson for the Los Angeles Sparks. Nice try. There was no doppelganger. That was you supporting your man. And we want to see that. Black love. That was her at the draft with him. So, I mean, they gave up a second rounder and the 7th rounders in the 26 first round pick next year to go back into 26, which I think is a little, but I mean, again, I think now this kind of solidifies that Jaylon's going to be playing linebacker and James is now going to be the edge. So you've kind of got like a little 1-2 combo there a little bit. So I like it. I mean, out of Tennessee, I mean, I think he has a chance to be. I think he could improve. There were some issues about his character, but I think for his me put it this way: the same thing with Lawrence Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you're talented, people can tolerate it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I'm not trying to put any Spurs out there. I think James will be just fine with them. And I mean, it could be also too. They thrashed him, Sean, like his work ethic and all this other stuff. I was like,
I believe it.
we're doing
I've
too
heard
much.
it. Yeah, I've heard it. I love these picks for him. Jalen Walker and then getting Pierce. This is another guy that I wanted. I wanted us to get him at Eds. I've heard the detractors. I've heard all the negative stuff they said. And hey, look, he's in the door, and let's see what happens. If he picks up on that, you can hide stuff from most of the people most of the time, but you cannot hide it from all people all the time. Like stuff's gonna come out,
That's true.
but again, it also goes back to that thing that we said, and I hate to keep bringing Shador back into this, but if you're that damn good, they'll overlook whatever nonsense you did, and they'll bring you in. Because clearly, there's been clear issues about James Pierce Jr. and everything. Because at one point in last year's mocks, James Pierce Jr., like at the beginning of the season, I think he was the number 1 overall pick in a lot of mocks.
Mm-hmm.
And now to have him drop down to this, I definitely think steal, but
yeah. Let's. I'm gonna give you the floor on 27 because you really were high on him as well for us. Malachi Starks.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely! I love this pick. I feel the same way about this pick as I did when y'all picked up Kyle Hamilton a couple years back. I think this guy is. I mean, this is solidifying that secondary for you. I mean, or at least that back end of that secondary. And I think this also frees up Kyle Hamilton to be more instinctual, more fluid, more reactionary, as opposed to I gotta make sure we're good back here. I gotta make sure that I'm covering for all the other people. This will let Hamilton go, and Starks and Handy will tell you sometimes he has an issue locating the deep ball and stuff like that's gonna happen. But you got another guy over here in Hamilton that's just as solid. He's gonna back you up. So I love this A+ 100%. And that is all of the Georgia guys coming out in the first round. So,
absolutely. Just to add onto that, Kyle Hamilton, Darius Washington, and now Malachi Starks. That's going to feed families, and especially knowing how we looked the first 10 weeks defensively, just garbage. So we definitely solidified that backfield. So he's definitely got Zach Orr. You've got some flexibility now with some playmakers, with some dogs. So let's make it work. Let's go to Detroit. At 28, they took Tyleik Williams out of the Ohio State. Talk about it, Sean.
Hey, look, Detroit. I trust Detroit. Especially recently under the new coaching staff. Now, obviously, we know Glenn is gone. We know Gordon is gone. Or Ben Johnson, is gone. I still trust what they're doing. I think this pick is indicative of that. They went to get a play. They went to get a player. I don't want to say necessarily need, but I think this just is a good fit. I think I'm looking forward to see how Tyleik is able to incorporate his game with what Detroit is trying to do.
I agree. I think he definitely is a good fit for them. Good run defender. He definitely get off the blocks, make some plays. He's got to get better as a pass rusher, but that's where Dan Campbell's gonna make him pretty good. So for sure.
Like that.
I'm gonna give you the floor on Washington's pick, 29. Josh
with the 29th pick. Oh yeah, with the 29th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, my Washington Commanders select Josh Connerly Jr. out tackle out of Oregon. Love it. Love the guy's energy. Love his size. The road grader. He's a pass protector. I love what he brings to the table. And we went from starting off this offseason with no tackles. Essentially, we were going with a rookie in Brandon Coleman, who shout out to him for doing as well as he could. But it was Coleman and Wiley. We went from having none. Yes, to then now having two and Laramie Tunsil and Josh Connerly. Love this pick. And apparently they loved it too because my initial opinion was to trade out of the first round. But I love that they got this pick. And I think this is really going to start solidifying that. Again, what do we always talk about? Protect your investment. JD5 is your guy. Put guys around him. I love it.
Yep, for sure. You took the words right out of my mouth with him. Let's go to Buffalo. They took Maxwell Hairston, corner. And they need to work on the defense. Again, it's very thin, especially. I think it's a good fit for them because he's actually one of the smallest players too. I want to say almost 5'10", 5'11".
He's pretty. Yeah, he's short.
So again, you go ahead.
But he's got wheels. I was gonna say, but he's fast as lightning. So that. Yeah, I agree with size, and shout out to Will. Will is not somebody that likes a shorter corner, but if he's got that speed to make up for it, I'll overlook it, and at least to see what he's like on the field. This is the guy I like out of Kentucky. We'll see if he can translate it in the NFL.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you the last two picks here. Philadelphia took Jaheed Campbell.
Love it.
I think it's a steal out of Alabama. How do you feel about that one?
Love it. Well, okay. As an analyst, love it for them. Solidifies that already dominant defense. I mean, he's already an SEC guy, so there might be a little friction with all those Georgia guys, and now you have an Alabama guy. But if you can bring them all together, I mean, that defense is going to be potent. Now, from a Washington perspective, I absolutely hate this. What? The Chiefs and the Chiefs are going to trade with them so they get what? Why are you colluding with the daggone Eagles, Chiefs? What are y'all doing? Y'all are hurting us. What did we do to you? You know what? We'll see you this year, Chiefs. We'll see you this year. That was some nonsense. I love Campbell. I think Campbell's a solid pickup for Bama. Again, Bama's another team not having that many people in the first round, and I think this was a big one for him. I love this one.
For sure. And then the last pick of the first round, Kansas City took Josh Simmons, the Ohio State.
Yeah.
How you feel
about it? They needed it. They definitely needed it. I was surprised to see him drop here. Were you surprised to see this drop, or did you expect him towards the end of the first?
Well, a lot of it had to do because of his injury. And remember, he got hurt. So that was his patella tendon. I think that played a role. I mean, if he did get hurt, I think he would have been there around 15, 20-ish range. But because of the injury, I think that played a role. So, but I mean, they're getting a solid tackle. He's athletic. He kind of reminds me of Orlando Brown Jr. coming out of Oklahoma.
Okay, I like that. And we know the pieces that they lost. Joe Toomey, I think, went to the Bears. And then lost a couple other guys. So they need to restock and replenish.
We build the offensive line around Patrick Mahomes for sure. Ladies and gentlemen, that is our first round draft grades. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, what you guys think. And then before we get out of here, we're going to have one final thought. We were going to do winners of really quick, Sean. Just top of your head, just give me your winners and losers of the draft.
Winners, like I told you, Atlanta. Really like what they did. People are not going to like this answer, but I think one of the winners in this draft is the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland Browns picked up 2 running backs. They picked up a couple quarterbacks. They picked up obviously the D tackle. They picked up an extra pick with that trade. I really truly think Cleveland, they're starting to prepare for life after Deshaun Watson, and obviously he's still on the books for I believe 2 more years before they can really start to get rid of him. And I
get
think
him off the books next year.
Next year. Okay, perfect. I think this is what they're doing. You bring in an older Joe Flacco, who's obviously cheap. Kenny Pickett, obviously cheap. Watson, you still got to pay him, but now you also got 2 rookies in here. I think a lot of people are getting on this, the Browns, and what are the Browns doing? I think this was huge for Cleveland. I talked about Atlanta's defense. I think Atlanta's defense is, and with picking up Jalen Walker and James Pierce Jr., I think two of them together, along with some of their moves in the secondary, I think are really legit. And then the other team is Tennessee. You and I talked about some of the pieces they still have. Getting Cam Ward at quarterback, I think that was huge for them. I think he is that much of a game changer where he
I agree.
can then start to create some offense for them. Now you have Tony Pollard out there. We know how fast this guy is. We know his
Yep.
speed and what he can do. Now you get this guy some receivers. I really
I
genuinely
agree.
think Cam Ward's going to turn things around in Tennessee next year. But yeah, outside of that, I mean, those are the winners. As far as the losers, kind of Dallas. Like I'm looking at some of the things that really they did. I like Booker in the first, but some of the other moves I wasn't really. San Fran, that's another one where I'm kind of like, did you address? But maybe they had so much to address that you can't really fill every hole.
Yeah.
But that's just off the top of my head. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I will say the winners, Carolina, Dan Morgan did a good job, definitely building, giving Bryce Young some help for sure. Philly obviously was a cheat code. I would definitely say when you look at it, I think really Tampa, I would say was a winner. I would say I'll say for right now, I want to say the Saints.
Okay.
Simply because they're trying to build that offensive line.
Right.
I think give it time and see what it looks like. Indy, I will say, is a winner. It's easy to say Washington and Baltimore, but that's a fan. But as an analyst perspective, I will say that Cincy's a loser because it didn't really work. It's the defense. They've really kind of. I'm just concerned of what they're going to do on the defensive side of the ball. Houston, I will say, is a loser. I think this was more of quality, and you trading out the first round. Don't agree with that. Pittsburgh, yeah, those are my losers. And
I can see that.
Yeah.
What do you think about Quinn Ewers dropping, the quarterback of Texas?
Quinn. I'm not surprised. And again, like that's another thing too. A lot of these quarterbacks that were drafted before Shador, I will agree, they are now under pressure because they now have to play damn near perfect.
Absolutely.
And yeah. Which actually transition us into, ladies and gentlemen, the one final thought.
Thoughts are running through my mind. Someone took some time to find a minute or two to organize.
Yes. Then one final thought, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, we all know the elephant in the room. Shador Sanders was taken in the 5th round by the Cleveland Brownies, even though they took Dylan Gabriel in the 3rd round. But we also saw a video that started. I saw it on Twitter. I don't know where you saw it, Sean.
Shoot, might have got the ESPN by the time I saw it.
Okay, but it was a video that posted of the weekend of these guys. Supposedly, I think they're college students, and they're prank calling Shador, and the one guy is impersonating the vice executive of the Saints, and it actually turned out to be Jeff Orbeck's son, and Shador wasn't the only one that was a victim to this. Mason Graham, Tyler Warren, Carl McCord, and Chase London. Even Josh Connerly, because he was on DC's 106.7 The Fan.
Okay.
Talked about that he was also a victim of the prank calls.
Oh, wow.
So Isaiah Bond also as well says he was a victim as well. When you hear these things, overall thoughts on how you feel about it.
When I first heard the first initial story, obviously it was polarized because it was Shador. I had an issue with it. I was furious. I'm like,
Mhm.
you're gonna sit here. First of all, you're gonna steal this number from your dad's iPad or whatever, or however you got it, and then all of a sudden now you're sitting here with your buddies calling Shador, talking about somebody's future. Like that's terrible. With that being said, now you telling me the story about all these other guys doing it that is not as polarizing. It's not as not necessarily saying it's not as big of a deal, but if this is part of the course that I did not know about, well, screen your calls. Don't get that. It's kind of hard not to have your phone. People are going to eventually get your number. We know about all this type of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's terrible. It's not right, and I think us seeing how the NFL handled it with Albright and that whole situation is kind of putting everybody else on notice. Like, if we catch you, you gonna have to pay. He's a coach. He's getting paid. He can fork up that money. Personally, I think his son needs to be held responsible for something. Maybe not forking up that money or anything like that. But I mean, we got to draw a line somewhere. Like, where's the decency? You know what I mean? Like, this is a night a guy is dreaming, especially about Shador when he was fallen. Now you're just making light of his tragedy. Like, I don't like that. I don't like.
I agree. And then also too, second, more importantly, according to the rules and laws and all this stuff in our society, 21, you're an adult. So what he did, that was a choice. And then the plastered on social media to try to get attention the wrong way. That's ignorant. But I mean, this is a chapter in a new chapter in these young men's lives as they go forward. So to see that happen, I thought was very, very, and hear that's very disingenuous. So I hope the NFL addresses it, because that's definitely going to have to be something they're going to have to be addressed, because that's sensible. That's a data breach. How do you have access to that stuff is beyond me. And that should not have happened. But that's going to conclude this episode. That's our one final thought, ladies and gentlemen. Sean, I appreciate you hanging with me. And thank you for tuning into this episode, ladies and gentlemen. Please like, comment, and subscribe for our future content. Congratulations to all the young men that got their names called. I wish you all the best. Even those that didn't get your name called, that got an opportunity to be on the team. Take this moment, make them remember your name. And again, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. So,
absolutely.
Again, please like, comment, subscribe. This episode will be up tomorrow along with 448. And then I'll bring Sean back on for the Washington Commanders draft analyzation. So again, let's talk soon. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Have a good night. Stay safe. We're out. Peace. That's all the screen producers.
Thank you for tuning in to Big Nate Sports Talk. If you enjoyed that episode, be sure to like, subscribe, and share Big Nate Sports Talk. It's on all the time, anytime.
And I want to thank you. All I want to do is say thank you. I know that loving me wasn't always easy. And you felt like walking away when you couldn't see me. Felt like all your hope was gone. But I'm right here on bended knee. Please be my wife and stay with me. Please take my hand through stormy weather. We will stay, yeah. Let me be the one you. When you need me, I'll be there. Just to let you know that I really, 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 really do care, yeah. Baby, I'm promised. Baby, I'm promised. I'll be right here for you. No matter the problem. No matter the problem, man. I'll be by your side. 'Cause the love we share can never be denied. Denied.